All right, let's jump right in. We all love the idea of getting out there and exploring nature, right? But what if the digital tools we use to do that were as connected and seamless as the trails themselves? Well, today we're going to talk about a vision to build exactly that. A single, unified digital network for all of Europe's incredible hiking trails. Just think about that for a second. One seamless experience. It doesn't matter where you are, your app just works. It's got the right map, real-time updates, all the info you need. That's the dream. But to really get why that's so powerful, we have to look at the pretty frustrating reality we're in right now.
And that brings us to the current state of things, which, to put it mildly, is a total mess.
Look, Europe is packed with stunning trails managed by countless different organizations. And that's the problem right there. All the information about these amazing places is trapped. It's locked away in what are called data silos. Basically, a bunch of separate, disconnected systems that don't talk to each other at all. So what you have is this huge gap between the dream and the reality. We're all dreaming of that one perfect app. But what we actually get is this crazy digital scavenger hunt. You know, you're downloading some outdated PDF from one website, you're finding broken links on another, and then you discover the official app only works in one tiny region. The data comes in a dozen different formats, and half the time the most important info is just gone. So how in the world do we fix this? Well, the answer lies in a set of principles designed to build a smarter, more connected map for everyone, and it's called FAIR. FAIR is an acronym, and it stands for Findable, Accessible, Interoperable, and Reusable. Now, this is a really important idea. It's not just about making data open. It's about making data truly usable, not just for people like you and me, but for the apps and computers that we need to make sense of it all. Let's just break that down real quick. Findable means you can actually search for and find the data in the first place. Accessible means you can get to it without having to jump through a bunch of weird proprietary hoops. Interoperable, and this is the real game changer, means your hiking app can easily mix trail data with, say, live weather data or the real-time bus schedule to the trailhead. And finally, reusable means the data is so well described that anyone can grab it and build something new and amazing with it down the road. So how does this all work in practice? How do we go from just having lines on a map to a map that actually has meaning? Well, this is where we start connecting the digital dots. The key technology here is something called linked data. The easiest way to think about it is like, it's the glue for the internet of data. It's a way of publishing information so that different facts don't just sit there next to each other, but are actively linked together by what they actually mean. Okay, so check this out. It all starts with a single, unique ID for a trail, maybe stored in a database like Wikidata. That one ID becomes the central hub. It links to the trail's actual path in OpenStreetMap. It links to beautiful photos on Wikimedia Commons. It links to official EU data on protected nature areas. And it can even link to local info, like the opening hours of a mountain shelter. All of a sudden, it's not just a line on a map. It's this rich, interconnected web of actual knowledge. Now, I know this might all sound a little bit abstract, so let's bring it back to Earth with a fantastic real-world example, the Stockholm Archipelago Trail. This case study is the perfect blueprint for how this whole thing can work. But before we get into the details, let's just ask a simple question. When you're actually out there, boots on the ground, what's the information you truly need? Is it some slick marketing video, or is it something a little more practical? The difference here is just night and day. The official project was making marketing films about a magic season, but when hikers asked practical, even life-saving questions, the project had no answers. Meanwhile, the community, using open fair data, was providing the info that actually matters. Is the drinking water tap on right now? They tracked it. Where's the nearest defibrillator in an emergency? They mapped it in OpenStreetMap. Are the shelters and toilets even open? The official project status was a secret, but the community was out there tracking and auditing them. This is why community-driven data so often wins. It's built by the people who actually use it. And that brings up a really crucial point, accountability. Get this, 7 million Swedish kroner, that's taxpayer money, was supposedly spent on things like BBQ pits and shelters. But when the community went to find them, a lot of them just weren't there. There was no public record of where they were or if they were even built. In an open data world, every single one of those taxpayer-funded items would have a digital ID and a public delivery status for everyone to see. So instead of secrecy and missing money, what did the open data community do? They created incredible, real value. By connecting over 600 points of interest to Wikidata, they made information about the trail instantly available in more than 200 languages, automatically. That's a level of accessibility and scale that a closed, top-down project could never, ever dream of achieving.
Now, this amazing grassroots effort in Stockholm, it's exactly the kind of thing the European Union wants to see happening on a massive scale. This isn't just a few volunteers anymore. This bottom-up energy is meeting a really powerful top-down movement to unlock public data across the entire continent.
So the European Union itself, with its Open Data Directive, has actually identified specific types of data that are incredibly important for society and the economy. They call them high-value data sets, and guess what's on the list? Geospatial data, that's maps, and mobility data, which includes transport networks like hiking trails. The EU is now mandating that this kind of data be made available using these FAIR principles. And why are they doing this? Well, because the value is just enormous. A study in Sweden estimated that just by making these high-value datasets open, it could generate between 1 and 2 billion euros in benefits every single year. And that's not just about better hiking apps, it's about sparking innovation, creating new jobs, and building more efficient public services for everybody. And listen, this isn't some pie-in-the-sky plan for the future. It is happening right now. Countries like Denmark, Finland, and Estonia are really leading the charge, creating a government culture that's all about transparency and collaboration. They are building the foundation that's going to make a fair trail network not just a vision, but pretty much inevitable.
Okay, so let's pull all these threads together and really look at what this future is going to look like.
The change we're talking about here is massive. It's a total shift in how we think. We're moving from seeing trails as just isolated lines on separate maps to seeing them as nodes in a connected, continent-wide network. We're getting away from these fragile data silos and building towards a living, breathing digital ecosystem that can grow and adapt over time. And here's the most important part. This can't be built by one company or one government. The Fair Trail Network has to be a movement. It needs passionate local communities who know the trails best, working hand in hand with public agencies who manage the land, and with the open data folks who are building the digital bridges to connect it all. You know, at the end of the day, hiking trails do so much more than just get us from point A to point B. They connect us to the landscape, to our history, to nature. So the question we should leave with is pretty simple. Isn't it finally time their data did the same and connected all of us to each other?